Nostalgia Street invites you on a retro ride that's more than just a trip down memory lane,
Uncover life lessons and personal growth stories that stem from our collective past.
so you can live a richer, more connected life today.
Whether you're a 90s kid, an 80s teen, or simply young at heart, you'll find something to relate to in each episode.
Now, here are your hosts, Vince and Jeff.
Welcome back to Nostalgia Street, the show where we share the stories that shaped us and we talk to some of the most interesting guests that we've got around. I'm one of your co-hosts, Vince, and with me is Jeff.
And with us today is our special guest, Jaime. We're not going to say too much about her because we're gonna give her a chance to talk a little bit later on. So first, we're just going to do a quick little sponsor shout out. Today's episode, as always, is sponsored by Forefront Studios. We're here in a new studio space, and Forefront Studios, we really dedicate ourselves to helping level up your digital content. So if you or anybody you know needs a little bit of help on the business side or the nonprofit side with your video, give us a shout.
And
so. Go ahead.
And also here at Nostalgia Street, we are always looking for sponsorship partnerships. So if you want to sponsor our show, let us know.
Oh, boy.
Got a plug.
All right. So today we are with the famous Jaime Wood. Jaime is the SBA District Director for South Dakota, and she's also kind of temporary for Illinois. Is that right?
Yeah, just
Kind of a big deal.
Oh no,
Yeah,
Like a big
I'm
deal.
She's a busy one.
humble, feet on the ground, and just get work done. Do good for others. That's the type of person I am.
She's a 16th in line to President Biden. No, I don't know if that's true or not. 17,
No.
she says.
I'm way down.
She's a Speaker of the House candidate.
No,
Okay. Yeah, I don't think anybody wants that job. All right.
All right.
So we are going to just start kicking off some questions, and it won't be necessarily rapid fire, but we'll just see where the world takes us. So, what was your favorite song that just kind of lives rent free? Like you hear it, and you're like, oh man, that immediately takes me back to when I was a teen or in high school or college.
the rock was really good, right?
Yes,
Classic rock.
yes,
And I'm
yes.
talking about 70s and 80s. Yes, dating myself. But man, that music was good. Oh.
I'm right there with
It
you.
was great. And it was probably, I listened to a lot. I grew up with a lot of albums. My mom and dad had them, especially my mom. Like she loved Three Dog Night and The Doors and Rod Stewart. But also on the countryside, the classic country, Conway Twitty, Loretta Lynn, Johnny Cash, just a legend, So grew up with all of that. And then had, it evolved into even more of a love for music and ended up being a DJ later on in my
that's right.
post high school but young 20s. The one that has been in my mind this entire week is the Yellow Brick Road song that Elton John sang.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. I don't know.
Can you give us a little bit of it?
Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
Right.
La 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 la. la.
Okay, no copyright strike.
I've never heard it, so that was education for me. Thank
Oh,
you.
come on.
She's such a youngster.
I know it'll be in your
I'm
head.
gonna learn a
It'll be in your
lot.
head now, and you're like, I cannot
We'll
sleep.
play it there. So Elton John, was that one of your faves?
I liked Elton John. I liked Bon Jovi, and there's just so many good ones. Foreigner, REO Speedwagon,
Yeah.
Steve Miller Band,
Sure.
Eagles. Who doesn't like
So,
them?
Yeah.
If these musicians were on a game of Survivor, which one do you boot off immediately, and which one do you give immunity to?
Oh man, I would probably give immunity to Bon Jovi.
Okay, good choice.
Yeah.
John himself.
And, kicking off, probably. Let's see. What would I kick off right away?
Who is the
That
weakest
one
link?
is tough. Oh, probably. I call it more like bubblegum rock, and
Yeah.
that would be any of the. I won't name names because somebody will totally.
You gotta name
Somebody
names.
likes bubblegum out
It's
there.
okay.
Some of those. The ones that are really the softer rock.
All right.
I never was. I don't even remember.
Like
names
Christopher
because they
Cross?
weren't in my those.
You didn't like him? All
I liked them, but that
Oh,
wasn't my
man.
go-to.
right, I'm gonna go too.
But not my
Well,
go-to.
That's a good makeout.
If
song.
you're Christopher Cross fans and you disagree with Jamie Wood, you can reach her at Just kidding. Show notes.
I have to say, for all of them, they did a much better job than I ever could have done. So that's good.
So did you go to a lot of concerts?
No, not really. Not until I, was out of high school.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only concerts that I had in high school would be, chorus and band.
Oh yeah. There you go. There you go.
That I was in.
What did you play?
I started with the clarinet and then went to bass clarinet and then drums. So that was fun. And then I was in chorus. I actually was in all-state chorus for South Dakota.
Me too.
And did you? Oh,
Yeah,
wasn't
2008.
it a lot of fun? Where did you go? Did you go to?
We stayed in
Was
Sioux
it
Falls.
Sioux Falls?
Yeah, it was
Ours
lame.
was in Rapid City.
That sounds fun.
It was. It was a big road trip because I'm from a very small town up in the northern, part Mobridge. So that was a big deal.
So, so tell us tell us a bit about your kind of your upbringing, where you were spending most of your formative years, as they put it. And, like what's a Christmas memory that you hold near and dear?
Christmas was always exciting. We did not have a lot of money, but we were rich in other ways, right?
Yeah.
When I was growing up. And so we, if anything, like work ethic was instilled early on. But one year, it was a really tight year for Christmas money. And my dad said, let's go and earn some Christmas money. And so we went out in the country, and the combines had already come through. And actually, we went and we picked up, my dad asked this farmer if we could pick up the excess corn that was laying down, and we did. We picked up these corn cobs. We filled a whole truck box full, and then we did it again. And we were little, but I can still remember like what that corn felt like. That sharp. You guys weren't expecting this, were you?
No.
Anyway, now I. It's
a corny story.
I don't have to do that. I don't have to do this. So we actually, shelled this corn in big boxes and took it in, and we sold it. And my dad sold it, and we had the best Christmas. I mean, we got whatever toys we wanted.
Wow.
And we had to work for it. And I still, like I said, I remember how rough that was on our little hands, but there were lessons in it. Did we have to go do that? Probably not.
Right.
But we did do that year. And we all got whatever we wanted that Christmas. And it was one of the best.
Yeah. You remember what you got?
It was like Barbies and,
yeah.
those sorts of things. Yeah.
Little Barbie. Did you have Ken and Barbie or just Barbie?
We had Ken and Barbie, yeah.
Yeah.
But no makeout.
Yeah, I was
Back to the making
going
out.
to ask you, did Ken and Barbie smooch or not?
There. I don't know why.
I know.
Maybe we named this
It's
show
just
Jeff's
music.
Makeout Corner.
That's why I'm sitting out here.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna end that story saying that corn became a picture in the Corn Palace.
So later on in life, yeah, right. Later on in life, when I came back to South Dakota, because part of my career, actually 3 decades of it, was outside of South Dakota, and it started with the military, joining the military while I was still here, and going and just having this trajectory because of the military for this global career. So I came back about 5 years ago. And I was driving during harvest time. And when you're away from here, like the heartland, the breadbasket where all the agriculture is, and that crisp, October, it's starting to happen now with that crisp October air, and the geese are flying, and you go out and you see that round the clock harvesting taking place. Like you realize like how much you missed it. And I just was so glad to be back, and still to this day I am. And when I saw the piles of corn out there, I instantly could feel that on my hands.
Yeah.
But I also felt warmth in my heart for that experience. And I said to my mom and dad, we should go get a picture of our hands in like this loose corn, so that I just have, now my parents are in their 80s, but so I have this picture of our hands together in this corn, and I'll just put it up on the wall. And it may not mean anything to anybody else, but to me, I will remember that Christmas. Yeah, for sure.
I find it fascinating that all of the different senses, but there is something like you said with your corn. For me, it's like smells, like whether it's smelling a Thanksgiving dinner, or if it's smelling a perfume that reminds me of a girl that I dated. It's fascinating how our senses can be its own little time machine and take you back to something, and it's so vivid.
Yeah, it's funny too. And you, the corn, like the harvest, it has a whole totally different natural, earthy smell, when you're going out in the country during that harvest time. So it's a really special time of year. And this is a special place in the world, South Dakota is. I'm really glad to be here.
Yeah, yeah.
What's an instance where, oh, this might be fun. What's the first memory you have of being scared? And what were you scared of?
Ooh.
Okay, back in the day, and remember, I have already told you the bands that I like, so it's a long time ago, but we used to get to walk home from school by ourselves from kindergarten on.
Wow.
And that would, I know you can't
How far of a walk is that?
So we lived about a mile from the school, which for a little kid is a long way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it was normal back then. So things that, that were normal back in society, and kids actually had a lot more autonomy to experience, right? And then develop and suffer the consequences,
Sure.
good, bad, or indifferent. And so you learned, quickly those street smarts, I guess. But I can remember, being little and then just maybe going on the wrong block, or a little ways, and then finding my way back. And kind of, for me, those are some of the scariest. Like when I look back, I think, oh, I'm so glad that I I made it home and that I'm here today.
Yeah. It'd be a different story if it were today.
Yeah. What are yours?
Scary time. Yeah. You asked the question, so you must have a scary memory.
I've always had a weird aversion to water, in a sense that, like, I think when I was young, my dad tried to help me swim, and his idea of helping me swim was pushing me into the body of water.
It's a childhood like mine.
Totally.
Yeah.
There's a bit of trauma there. And,
Mine was
learn.
when Jeff and I went scuba diving this past February and we jumped into the ocean, I thought I was fine. I wasn't fine.
His nose started bleeding. Yeah.
And I had a panic attack and I had to come up for the surface within 5 minutes.
Oh, you went scuba diving?
Yeah.
Oh my
So we're working on that.
Oh yeah, in my mind, the water thing is a fear
Yeah,
thing for me
yeah.
too. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I have
Water.
no desire to go get a bloody nose diving.
I remember one night I was watching TV. My mom wasn't home. It was my dad, my sister, and it was probably something we weren't supposed to watch. Something kind of scary.
Making out.
I was like 4.
Okay.
And I swear that there was somebody crawling out of our bathroom window. I had nightmares for a few weeks, and I'm pretty sure it didn't happen, but it was probably based on I'm a 4-year-old. I'm highly imaginative, and it's dark. But I thought that somebody had crawled out of our bathroom window, like they were getting out of the house. And I remember letting my dad know that, and of course he got up to check, and it's fine. But it spooked me.
Like Amityville horror.
Did you ever, like,
Probably was one.
Did you ever like draw it out?
Did I draw what out?
What you thought you saw?
Oh, you mean like sketch it?
Visually, like,
No.
because I have this fear driving late at night in backcountry roads of alien abductions. I know that's really irrational, but I blame that on being a young 4 or 5-year-old watching documentaries of people getting abducted and them drawing these pictures of these strange things. And now I can't drive
Be
late.
some really great, American animes or or I don't know, the next level of scary Marvel comics, and we probably would see it on.
You ever seen any aliens, Jamie?
I have seen some beings that looked like aliens, but no, I don't think I have. Yeah.
Or any like spooky, because you've had quite the adventurous life, being able to be with the military and go all over the world. Any like particularly like spooky or supernatural or strange or obscure things that really stick out to you?
There were, one time I was working late in this very old building over in Europe, and I was going to be traveling for work the next day, so I had to get some things done to prep it. And so it was almost midnight, And I'm sitting there at the desk, and there's nobody else in the building. There's some guards that are in the building they're down on the first floor, and I'm up on the third floor. So nobody else is in the building. And I kept hearing like, like steps, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, maybe it's the guards that are once in a while going by, because I was working in this secure, building that had security forces in it, and didn't really pay much attention to it. And then it happened again. I would look around, and I had a ponytail in, right? And so it went on for several minutes. I kept looking back. I got up, I went and I looked out in the hallway, and my door was open to the hallway. The office door was, and I went back and I looked out the hallway. Nobody's there. I'm like, okay, this is weird. And then all of a sudden, it went, like, came up right behind me.
Yeah.
And this very cold burst of air went right across my neck. It just made my
Whoa.
my skin just like, woo, goosebumps. And I turned around, nothing's there. And so I just addressed it right away. I just said, I am not leaving. I have work to do. Leave me alone. And I don't know if there was anything there or not, but I had seen that on some show.
Wow. Yeah.
So I did it. And but that
And
was
packing heat.
that was a creepy kind of
I just realized this is gonna air.
This is the Halloween episode.
Halloween.
this is.
It's gonna be the Halloween episode.
What a great little side jaunt on it. So if we just keep going on this Halloween theme a little bit, do you remember what was your favorite costume for Halloween?
Oh gosh, there's been quite a few of those. That was a big deal, when we were kids, and we didn't have a lot of supervision. We just kind of got our cool costumes on, and we would have those plastic masks.
Yeah.
Full whatever,
Yep.
and they came in the box that kind of had the little plastic window, and so it was all folded in there in the box, and that was a big deal. My mom would always take us, and we'd get one, and I don't know, we had an array. And then as an adult, we've really done a lot of themed, really fun parties, and I can remember one time. Again, we lived in Europe for a long time. And so one time we hosted a pirate party, and people could come like any type of pirate that they wanted. And we did that. And so we had one time 70 people in our apartment that were all dressed as really unique, different, pirate themes. One guy came dressed as a huge life-size parrot.
So we
people's shoulders.
we definitely need to hear a pirate accent now. Some pirate talk.
Yeah.
Army Hardies. Jeff.
Arby's or Hardy?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. He said Arby's or Hardee's. I swear he did.
It's almost dinner time.
So I remember those plastic masks, and they would get really sweaty on the inside.
Oh, that's true.
right.
Yeah. You'd be breathing. Yeah. You had the two little nose holes.
Yeah. You never had.
Was that before your time?
Yeah.
Oh, you probably can find some on eBay.
We'll get you some. Now I remember I think I was like 7 or 8, and I came as Captain Kirk from Star Trek, and my cousin, he's like a wolf man. I'm like, that's not fair. He's got the scary costume. So I'm like, how can I make Captain Kirk scary? And so a friend of mine had some fake blood, and so I just fake blood like down here. I thought, ooh, now I'm scary, but no, that didn't really work out.
Yeah, that's true about those masks. They got hot and icky, like wet.
Yeah, I can
because it was
feel that.
cold. It was cold in October.
Yeah, that was the weird part.
Yeah.
It felt good for a while, and you take them off, and then
Yeah.
frostbite.
So what was the go-to Halloween candy score? Like if you got this particular candy or treat, it was a win.
I mean, like good candy bars.
Yeah,
Not the
small, fun size.
not the little one. But even to this day, I give good candy for
Like-
Halloween.
We had a dentist in my neighborhood who literally gave us floss.
He got
He gave us floss.
That's called fishing line, Vince.
that's
It's the cheaper.
he was actually fishing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
No, the Snickers. I remember the fun size. Like, I'm sorry, but 2 inches of chocolate. That's not fun. That's a tease. Okay, give
So you
me
got to
three
give
of
a
those.
couple of those.
Yeah, absolutely.
I usually too. I mean, I love watching the enthusiasm, and the kids come and they're so cute, and there's some great creative costumes
Yeah,
too, but
yeah.
they're really really cute, and so I let them have what they want. And sometimes they grab their whole hands in
Yeah.
there, and I'm like, it's okay.
Then you get the occasional 18-year-old that shows up without a costume and they just put their hand in the bucket.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, that was Vince.
So are you like Halloween Grinches? Do you like Halloween or not? Because I don't like it as much as I used to.
I don't buy the
I'm one of those like after 7:30 or 8. I
Yeah.
mean, that light is going off.
yeah. But we'll put a bucket out. We'll fill it with candy and say, please take one, because we don't want the dog to go crazy every time that the doorbell goes off. So we kind of go back and forth between actually giving it away or just putting it out there and let the kids go to town.
I'm a young single man, so Halloween, we leave it there.
I'm a young single man. So my digits are in the description below. That's what Vince says.
Thanks for being a wingman right there.
So what were some board games that you really liked to play when you were younger?
Okay, remember earlier when I said that I feel rich because of the experiences in the childhood, not necessarily the money, and so my mom and dad invested a lot of time with us, and they worked hard, but we had a lot of family time, and we always had games on the end of the table. And it was for when it was mealtime, we would just kind of take our arm and slide them down, but they were always there. And so I grew up playing many different types of cards, but also we would play triominoes, which are kind of like dominoes, and the triangle ones. It's pretty hard.
Yeah.
Hard game, but a really fun. And so we would do that a lot. And we would also play, Battleship
Yep.
and Monopoly, which I was never good at. To this day, not good at making good real estate investments. but sinking the battleship, that was one. And then Sorry. And those sorts of games, yeah.
Was there a particular game that caused more conflict than others?
Monopoly, definitely.
Yeah.
How about you?
Oh yeah. I remember
Like
that.
you had to get in there fast to
Yeah.
get that prime real estate.
Yeah. I was
My brother always kicked my backside on this. Yes.
I have a hidden talent for being really good at Sorry.
Was that
Like-
right?
I'm undefeated playing Knock.
Wow.
I said that.
That's a fun game. It really is. Yeah. There's some good. And I really loved Operation.
Yeah.
Yes,
I remember that.
to this day, I mean, now I'm more shaky than I was before.
Yeah.
Like trying to get in, and then you would hear that, the nose would light up. But no, that was a lot of fun.
Did you ever have a game called Jaws?
No, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we
You
had
were a cool kid.
well, not really. I remember my dad, we had to convince my dad that we'd actually play it, but it was this, well, maybe it's different when you're thinking. This was it was a large or medium-sized shark.
Oh, based off the
Came out-
movie.
and based off of the movie Jaws. And it had like a rubber band and chomper teeth. And then you had different things in it. So you had this little hook and you had to try to get in there and get things out. Yeah. Or else it would, boom.
Yep.
It would chomp down on your. And of course, my dad's like, you better play it. And we're like, of course we will. And like after 3 times, we're like, this isn't as good.
Mousetrap was that other one.
Mousetrap.
Yeah,
Yes.
kind of-
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a good one. So when you think about an experience that you had that kind of made you realize, I got to grow up. I got to make something of my life. What was that experience? Where were you? And take us to
Well,
that
I
time
can tell you, I was in Fort Jackson, South Carolina for basic training, and I knew really quickly that I was going to be growing up in the most
How old were you at that
pace.
time?
I actually went when I was 21. So I went
okay.
to a couple years of college, and
Yeah.
then I went back home and I started in small town radio.
Yeah.
And so I did that for about 2.5 years, and then found out that the military had military broadcasters. So I really hadn't considered the military before. My dad is a veteran, but we didn't really talk about that. And at the time, although there were women in the military at the time, and it's funny because this was really only, it was 30 years ago, not that long ago. It may sound like a lifetime to some people, Vance, but
Yeah. 30 years ago. That was
no,
yesterday.
it's not that long ago, right?
Nope.
So when you think about what has happened, I'm just teasing. What
That's how old I am.
you look young. You look young.
He was 3.
The bottom line is, when I think about that experience, the boys in school were getting talked to about the military a lot more than the girls.
Right.
And so I, a couple guys actually said, they have military broadcasters. Every job that is outside of the military, they have inside the military. And that's one of them. I said, I'd never even thought about that. And so I talked to a recruiter, sent in an audition tape, and then I got recruited to be a military broadcaster. And it just enhanced, the trajectory that I was on for the love of public communication and talking to others and public affairs, working with media. And so I did that for several years in the military. And then after I got out, I did some more, TV and radio in the civilian sector. And then eventually we moved to Europe, and at some point I started working for the Department of Defense and public affairs. So I was back in that role, not necessarily doing the actual recording for media, the TV and the radio, but I was writing speeches and I was escorting big time media like National Geographic and Vogue magazine and Jane's Defense and like all these other different types of, national global media to different places where we were. And I went to Africa several times and worked with media down there. And so it was really just a fascinating chapter of my career. But because of the military piece, I was able about 10 years ago to transition to SBA headquarters in Washington, D.C. And they have an office of veteran business development. So I worked in there for several years before coming out to the field into my current role here as the director for South Dakota for SBA. And it's phenomenal, the mission set that we do for helping small businesses and assisting, coming alongside small businesses like yours. And just really every stage of business is something that, we're in the business of supporting. So
She just took us down all these pathways.
I'm connecting the dots now. So when you ran into that ghost in Europe, Walter is what I'm calling him, and he was bothering you, you were like, in the name of the U.S. government, get out of here. I got work to do.
something like that.
In the name of Uncle Sam.
It was so funny. Like I thought, okay, I can be scared and run away and not get my work done, or I can just face it. And then guess what? It went away and left me alone. But that was a really weird encounter. Yeah.
That is. So when you got into the Army, did you have to go through basic training and all like everybody else?
Oh, when I went into the military, yeah, I did. I went to South Carolina and went through basic training. And there was me and I think 3 other people from South Dakota. And I think that they were all girls, so all 4 of us. And we went, and it's so funny because I can remember I was 21. So I was the oldest one, and the rest, I think were 18. So I was old.
Sure.
And the recruiter, because there wasn't the digital stuff, so the recruiter handed me everybody's files and said, "You are in charge of these." And, keep an eye on these 18-year-olds, while you're waiting. I thought, oh my goodness, I'm in charge of something, so, but no, it was funny. We made it there. And, that was an experience, but I survived it. And I highly recommend the military for anyone who is, looking for an adventure, teamwork, building self-discipline, exploring the world. So.
Did you and those other gals ever get in any trouble during basic?
No,
sneaking off base?
I did not do that.
Don't
I
look
did what
the
I
other
was
way.
told. But what I did find out in basic training, right? Because it's everyone says, oh, it's kind of a game, and what they're trying to do is they'll take each platoon. I think we had over 100 people in the total, battalion, but in our little platoon, we had I don't know, 25, maybe 30 people, but they're from all over the world. I mean, all over, well, in some cases, yes, all over the world, because part of our force is made up of new Americans. They're, people coming from other places that are looking to the military as a pathway to citizen. It's been going on for the entire time, the entire lifespan of our country, the United States of America. And to this day, it's still going on too. And that's part of how the force is built, not the total part, but a portion of it. And so I experienced that there, but people from all over the United States. And I'd have to say that it was one of my first experiences back then of really being with different races and different people, and coming from up here, I mean, it was kind of eye-opening and really interesting. Like, I was fascinated, but my parents really brought me up, and I still operate this way today personally. Is in my mind, there's a couple types of people, and it's not color based, but it's intention based. And so if you are, I didn't have a lot of money growing up. I'm doing great now, but and so I learned to work hard, and it's gotten me through. So work ethic to me is very important, but also I understand, like, that empathetic look at others who are struggling, and maybe they have great intentions, and I do everything I can to try to smooth that path, to help other people. But then there are some people that are not interested, in doing their best. And so for when I went to basic training, I saw this like play out. And when you're getting punished, and I'm not sure if that happens this way now, but back then, no matter how hard you tried, it still was about the team.
So
And
it
that
fails
was
the
not
team.
the individual, it was about the team. So if I went down there, and I did, from South Dakota, and had great work ethic and was doing everything that they said. If they said jump, I was like, how high?
Right.
Run, how fast do you want me to run? I mean, because I did not want to get punished, and I was trying to learn. I already had that discipline. But there were others that didn't. They didn't follow that, and they were being, recalcitrant with the drill sergeants. And so then all 30 of us would get punished no matter what.
That's brutal.
But after a while, it started to, flow, where we started to work as a unit. And that's what the idea of it is. The military is working together as a unit to achieve success. You can still have individual success, but working as a unit, because you're going to have solution sets. Some people call them problems. I call them solution sets, because every problem has a solution. And you have to approach it in an innovative way. And the only way to do that is to have everybody come together with the same focus, and then ideate on how to take that hill.
On the other side of, working hard and facing adversity, that means so much more when you've come through, the valley. So, whether it was in basic or whether it was earlier in your upbringing, is there a time, take us to a time where you almost felt like giving up? And what was that like, and how did you overcome that? And, what have you taken from that?
Yeah. I have had some of those times, personally and professionally, but I never felt really that I would give up. But there were times where I felt defeated, for sure, and exhausted. I really believe in my personal life that, God has control of it. For me, it's God. It could be something else for other people, and I respect that. But I'm the co-pilot, and I know that I'm going to be okay. But I also believe in moving at least 1 foot forward every day, or 1 inch or whatever, but just kind of moving forward. And today is going to be different or better than yesterday. And the times, I heard something in the past year, and I'm like, that's true. We spend 80 or 90% worrying about things that never come to fruition,
Yeah.
And so I've been very mindful as I grow older, to blow the chafe away and not worry about some of these, because when you think back about it, everything that you've been worried about in the past probably never even happened, like the guy crawling through the window, or drowning in the ocean. I mean, so
That almost happened though.
but look at you, look at you here, you're doing good, you're fine.
Now, I remember when I was a kid, my mom loved to watch soap operas, and then I think we were on vacation for a week, and we came back home, and it was like we didn't even miss it because they move so slowly. And so it's that I'm just dovetailing this into the whole fear thing is, you think something's going to happen, and things go on, and then it never happens. And just like on these TV shows, they put the fear in you that Billy Joe's going to cheat on Joanne, and then you come back and they're still together and everything's just fine.
Or that, back in the day, that you were going to miss that episode where it all did come together, right?
Yeah.
And then you come home 2 weeks later and no,
It's the same thing. Same thing.
There's no rewind.
Yeah.
And now we just Netflix it all on a weekend.
That's right.
Yeah, we surely do. All right. Well, we are not too far away from being done, but I want to talk about, so whether it's the military or if it's your faith or if it was how you was raised.
That's the Missouri coming out.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Wait, now I'm talking like this. That's worse than Missouri. What was a memory or an experience that you went through that you think back and you're like, okay, yeah, I think this really has helped shape who I am and what's helped me to help other people through the SBA?
Oh, yeah. So the military definitely was a platform, but my whole upbringing, and I've had great mentors from my parents and other family members, aunts and uncles, my grandparents, and even my children are mentors to me. I have 3 children that are adults, and I learn, from them constantly. There's been a few teachers that have been instrumental that I'm still in contact with all these years later. And there's been some bosses that have been, and former colleagues that have been so critical in helping me to develop and achieve that next, level. And so I'm grateful and thankful. But there have been some tough times, personal hardships. I lost my only sibling in a black ice car crash. Years ago, but that was really tough, and it was pivotal for me to be able to look at where I was at in life. I was living in Europe at the time, and I really wanted to come back to South Dakota, and all of a sudden there was a pathway, but I had to take some other roads, through DC first, to get there. And I came back here, and now on the other side of it, honoring his memory, and then he has 4 children, and just being able to be around them and see him, and he has grandchildren now, and just to be able to be a part of that has been really great. So those were some of the toughest personal times for me, but there was others, and everybody has them, but just what I want to do now, what I'm interested in, and this is what I recommend to people to realize earlier in life, is be a good human. It's easy. It's easy just to smile at somebody, So that's how I really live my life now. And I hope that it shows in the work that I do with the U.S. Small Business Administration. I love this mission. Small businesses are the backbone of our nation. And here in a rural state like South Dakota, where we have 90,000 small businesses, I hustle every day just to make sure that we are doing the outreach that's needed. I've got a small team of 5, but that we're doing outreach across these 77,000 or 70 plus thousand square miles in South Dakota, and getting every nook and cranny, whether you're urban or rural, so that that you have some assistance here.
And we appreciate it.
There's a theme just off the episodes we've done so far, and you said it a couple times already, just like Pete, Klein Johns. Have you seen last week's episode? Take a look at that. But Pete talked about work ethic being a big part of his upbringing, but then also being a good person. That
It's not hard.
Yeah,
It's really not hard, is it? Yeah, it's not hard at all. And it's so fulfilling, isn't it? I mean, even after achieving, status and wealth and being able to visit, many countries and states and everything. What fills me up the most is to see that somebody else's journey is becoming smoother because paused
did.
long enough to care enough to,
Yeah.
help. And I think that's what life is really all about.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this last, third chapter of my life is really focused on being a good human and doing all that I can and going the extra mile every day to help other people.
Yeah, and you are a good human. I be careful not to get too teary eyed here, but yeah, I mean, so I'm part of this SBA Thrive group that Jamie coerced me to get into, and it it's designed to help out small business owners and to thrive. It's a great
name.
But Jamie wasn't there in our group one day, and people were just discussing about what brought them into that group. And just these little stories about Jamie were just kind of popping up all the time. And it's, we get to see you, and how great you are to us. In fact, Jamie brought us a plant. We should have put that out here. But then when you hear other people who have had a similar experience, like that's a special person. So you're appreciated.
Well, you're all incredible people, and I'm just glad to walk alongside of you. And your success is my success, and my success is your success. And for me, again, it's really God working through me to help other people, and that's what I'm focused on doing.
Yeah.
That's almost like the second tagline for the show is just we share these stories that help the listeners and viewers just not just learn lessons, but just ultimately live more full and fulfilling lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
Read the tagline there. But Jamie, even good human beings can have a little.
Oh, wait.
We're back there again.
Yeah.
Sorry.
On this edition of Jeff's Makeout Corner. Just kidding. Even good human beings have fun and can be a little mischievous.
Oh yes.
I can't not believe that you didn't do something with a little bit of mischief.
I'm waiting for this.
Come
on. You got to give us something,
No,
Jamie.
I just
Come on.
can't.
You
I'm going to
pulling
do the
one's hair.
Ronald Reagan. I cannot remember.
That's not wrong. That's Joe Biden.
You're talking about the past. I'm talking about the future right now. Here and now.
Look back here. Do any of these little tokens of the history remind you?
My goodness.
You see some stuff that's.
Yes.
My wife picked these up at a garage sale. Believe it or not.
Oh God. Like, you remember when, nutmeg, like when they used to be in the little tin can.
Mm-hmm.
Now people are making crafts out of these.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in here.
I didn't find this out until I don't know, 5 years ago that you're supposed to get rid of your spices on a regular basis because they go bad.
Do you do that?
I bet my mom had the same probably pumpkin spice in her cabinet for 40 years. I would go home and I'd visit. I'm like, my God, Mom, you've got chili spice in here.
How many times do you make pumpkin pie here?
Yeah.
So,
And that's the thing, is like people just don't use their spices here.
yeah.
It's like they have the same, like you're saying, they have spices from like a decade ago. It's like that's not my household. We run out of spices, so we use them.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think also don't get too many spices. Like, don't fill your cupboard up with so much that you're never going to use it. Like, get the ones that are great and use them. Like, when you open your cupboard, do you have a whole variety, or is it just what you use?
Oh, I got a pretty good variety at my house.
Oh, I got different uses for them because there's paprika and there's smoked paprika and there's Hungarian smoked paprika.
yes, yeah.
All different uses.
Yeah.
Hungarian smoked paprika, that's a thing.
Yeah, the authentic goulash is made with it.
All right, I got to look that up. I've a good goulash forever. Well, what was a popular or common or favorite food that you had growing up, like the go-to?
So my heritage, like for the northern South Dakota, is really Prussian. It's like German, and my grandparents were displaced Germans. Their parents were. They actually were born in America, but they were raised just as they had gotten, kind of off the boat.
Yeah.
But that Prussian German influence. So we had a lot of, Nifla soup and borscht and dumplings with.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, dumplings with.
dumplings.
My grandma would make the best dumplings, and then she also canned plums, and then you would take, part of the dumpling and you would dip it in the plum sauce, and it was so good. And And then she would make these little really thin, she'd roll out the dough really thin and she would cut them like those round bales and put them in. They're kind of like, they're made out of dough. They're like a dumpling, but they're rolled and they would look like those round bales out in the field, right? And so she called them bales. And so we would have that. And then my mom is from the East Coast. And so we got her influence with what, people out in upstate New York would eat. So there were more, beans with ham, like bean soups,
Yeah.
like really yummy, delicious soups. And we had a lot of pot roast. And my mom was a working mom, so she was a nurse. So we ate a lot of crock pot food. And to this day, I love the crock pot too, because I'm also a working.
Are there any
That's a great
recipes
memory.
that you passed on to your kids
Memories?
or recipes?
Recipes. Yeah. So some of those, some of the recipes that my grandmother made, yes, absolutely. And then we kind of got our own, but we lived in Europe while my kids were growing up. And so we were there for about 13 years and they all graduated from high school over in Europe. And so we would go and take cooking classes, together as a family. And we ate in a lot of restaurants that had the authentic, Greek and Italian and German and even the Asian population that came over to Europe. I mean, you were getting all different flavors with spices, and the food was so fresh and good. And so we would do that, and so it was really nice. For their upbringing was very global.
So the cookbook is coming when?
Oh no. Yeah.
Show notes.
I don't know what I'm going to do when I grow up, but I don't think it'll be right in a cookbook.
I'm picturing Jamie in a different way. She's a combination of Private Benjamin and Meatballs. Did you ever see those movies? Did
What?
you? No. Private Benjamin had
Yes, I have seen those.
and
but I don't-
Goldie Hawn. I just remember her complaining when she got her uniform. She said, "Can I get this in pink?" And then Meatballs. Wait, no,
That
I'm
wasn't
sorry.
me.
Not Meatballs. What was that one with Bill Murray in it where they go to Europe? They go to Germany and they end up getting caught in something.
That wasn't me. But speaking of goulash, actually did go to a cooking school in Budapest and learned how to make goulash. But it's been a while.
Budapest.
Budapest. That's how you say it in everything.
Yeah. Now she's legit. She's not made any of this stuff up.
We say Budapest over here, but Budapest,
Budapest.
is what they say.
I
And
like
it's
to say it like
absolutely
that.
beautiful.
Sounds better, like borscht.
Go and travel as
I
much as
should.
you can. Even if you go to Rapid City or Aberdeen or Omaha for the food
Hey, those are
scene or
bastions of
wherever.
culture too.
Bastions of culture.
You won't believe the people that I talk to, though, down in this area in Sioux Falls that have never experienced South Dakota and gotten out. There are some phenomenal places. It's so beautiful across the state and great people. And it's neat. And it's also really nice to see like increasing diversity coming in to these small towns. Even my hometown, there's a Mexican restaurant. There's Native American shops that are there, but there's also, there's Asian restaurant, and you didn't see that, 30 years ago. But now in some of these rural areas where there's really, if we don't have that replacement business coming in, no matter what kind of food they serve, there's going to be food deserts, and I'm seeing, especially post COVID, when we go out to some of these rural areas where there's a element of the workforce, challenge, and there's element of the supply chain, although that's getting worked out pretty well. But there's been some really innovative movement taking place even across rural, and there's opportunity. There's so many businesses that are aging out. And if they close the doors, then a place like Mobridge, you're going to have to drive maybe 100 miles to Bismarck or Aberdeen or Pierre to go get some food.
Right.
So it's really, really good to see what's happening across the state.
Sweet. Well, we are at that time.
Okay.
We gotta close her down.
Thank you so much.
Is there any other fun memories? Anything you want to share at the?
It's all been good, and I wouldn't have done one thing differently. Even the hard things were learning and growing,
Yeah.
but the times where they were great, were phenomenal, and it all has brought me back here to Sioux Falls. But I appreciate the chance to get to know you better and share your platform. But it's wonderful to be here and serving in the capacity with the U.S. Small Business Administration.
Absolutely. Well, we're appreciative of you. Why don't you close this out, Big Dog?
Big Dog. Oh my gosh. Did we flash back into the 90s? Notorious B.I.G. and all that? Gosh, every time you put me on the spot, I get like a frog in my throat. Gosh.
He meant Big Frog.
Big Frog. Big Frog. Big Frog.
Yeah, close this out, Big Frog.
Shout out to Big Frog. They do make our promo and apparel. They do actually. They made our.
Okay, just knock that off. Okay? No one's going to take it seriously.
Well, thank you, Jamie, so much for being a part of our show. At Nostalgia Street, we're all about, finding those stories that shaped us, passing on those lessons to the next generation and those who are out there. So as always, listeners, viewers, continue to be curious, stay engaged, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform. If you're on iTunes, please take a moment and leave us a rating and review.
Head on over to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. You'll get access to engaging visuals that complement our podcast content.
Thanks again for tuning in, and we look forward to having you with us on our next episode. So until next time, listeners, stay curious, stay engaged,
And never stop walking down Nostalgia Street.